You ever been at that point where you thought, I can't take one more thing? You're standing in the middle of your storm, feeling like the whole world is pressing down on your chest, and you don't even have the words to pray anymore. You've cried the tears, you've done the work, you've tried to stay strong, but everything inside you is trembling. That's what I call the breaking point, the place where strength runs out and silence takes over. But let me tell you something. Sometimes that's exactly where you need to be, because it's in that place where your strength ends that something greater begins. You see, life will strip you down to the core just to show you what you're really made of. It will expose every crack, every weakness, every fear that's been hiding under your confidence, and you'll start to wonder, why me? Why now? What did I do wrong? But the truth is, you didn't do anything wrong. You're being refined. You're being stretched, not to break you, but to prepare you for what's next, because you can't step into new levels with old strength. You can't carry yesterday's version of yourself into tomorrow's purpose. When you hit that breaking point, that's not a sign that you failed. It's a sign that you've given everything you had. And sometimes that's what's required to open the door to the next stage of your life. Because you can't discover real strength until life puts you in a position where strength is the only thing you've got left. You don't know what's inside you until your back's against the wall, until every plan you made falls apart, and the only thing keeping you standing is something deep in your soul whispering, keep going. Pain has a way of introducing you to yourself. It pulls back the layers and shows you what's real. All the noise fades away, the people, the distractions, the expectations, and what's left is truth, the kind of truth that's raw and uncomfortable but necessary. The truth that tells you who you are when nobody's watching, when nothing's working, when hope feels distant. And that truth, as painful as it is, becomes the foundation for your next rise. You might not realize it while you're in it, but every tear you cry is watering something. Every sleepless night, every lonely prayer, every moment of confusion, it's all planting something beneath the surface. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight, it happens in the soil. The seed doesn't break the ground in silence for nothing. It breaks because it's changing. And maybe that's what's happening to you. Maybe you're not breaking down. Maybe you're breaking open. So don't curse the breaking point. Don't despise the season that feels heavy, that feels unfair, that feels endless. Because it's doing something inside you that comfort never could. Comfort may keep you safe, but struggle makes you strong. The things that broke you are the same things that built your character, your endurance, your faith. Every scar you carry tells the story of a fight you survived. You thought it was over, but here you are, still breathing, still pushing, still becoming. Sometimes the hardest part is realizing that strength doesn't always look powerful. Sometimes strength looks like getting out of bed when you don't want to. It looks like forgiving when it still hurts. It looks like showing up when you feel invisible. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. It's that silent decision you make to try again when no one's clapping for you. It's that invisible fight between despair and determination that nobody sees but heaven. There are moments when you'll feel like life is taking more than it's giving. But I promise you this, nothing you've lost was wasted. Everything that left you, everything that hurt you, everything that challenged you was clearing space for what's coming. You can't pour new wine into old wineskins, and you can't build a new life with an old mindset. The breaking point clears out the clutter. It exposes what's fragile so you can rebuild with what's strong. When you feel like you're about to collapse under the weight, take a breath. You've been here before. You've survived before. The same power that carried you through your last storm is still alive in you now. Don't rush the process. Don't run from the lesson, because when this storm passes, and it will, you're not just going to come out of it, you're going to come out changed. Stronger, wiser, sharper. You might not see it yet, but this moment is shaping your destiny. The breaking point is not where your story ends. It's where it begins again. You were never meant to stay broken. You were meant to rise from it. Now I want you to take a second, right where you are, and think about everything you've survived. Every heartbreak, every failure, every disappointment. And yet, you're still standing. That means you're stronger than what tried to destroy you. I want you to drop a comment right now and say, "I'm still standing," because that declaration isn't just words. It's proof that your breaking point didn't break you, it built you. Waiting can feel like the hardest test you'll ever take. You pray, you plan, you push, and yet nothing seems to move. You do everything right, and still doors stay closed. You see others getting what you've been working for, and inside you start wondering, when is it going to be my turn? That's the weight of waiting. The quiet, invisible heaviness that sits on your shoulders when your timeline doesn't match your faith. It's not that you've lost hope. It's that hope feels heavy when it's been stretched too long. Waiting will make you question yourself. It'll whisper lies to your mind, telling you you're behind, that maybe you missed your moment, that maybe you're not meant for what you've been dreaming about. But what if waiting isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? What if the reason it hasn't happened yet is because something inside you still needs to grow before you can handle what's coming? Sometimes the blessing is ready, but the person meant to receive it isn't. You can't rush destiny. You can't microwave purpose. Everything great takes time to develop. Think about it. The seed doesn't sprout the day it's planted. There's a whole season of silence, a season of darkness, a season of being buried. But just because it's buried doesn't mean it's dead. It's growing roots where nobody can see. It's gaining strength underground so that when it rises, it can withstand the storms that come with growth. That's what waiting does. It roots you before it reveals you. Waiting is a teacher. It teaches you patience when your pride wants control. It teaches you discipline when your emotions want to panic. It teaches you trust when you can't see the full picture. And sometimes that lesson hurts because you want answers now. You want progress now. You want breakthrough now. But growth doesn't live in the now. It lives in the not yet. The not yet forces you to hold on to faith when your eyes see no evidence. That's where true belief is born, in the tension between promise and proof. There's a reason why some doors stay closed even when you're ready to walk through them. It's because timing is divine. If you step too soon, you'll stumble. If you move too fast, you'll miss the wisdom that only waiting can give you. You see, some things in life are delayed not to deny you, but to develop you. The delay is designed to sharpen your vision, strengthen your endurance, and mature your perspective. Because if you get what you want before you're ready, what you want will become what you lose. It's easy to trust when everything's moving, but faith grows when everything's still. When your prayers go unanswered and heaven feels silent, that's when you learn what real faith is made of. Faith isn't built in applause. It's built in isolation. It's built when you wake up and nothing's changed, but you choose to believe anyway. It's built when you keep showing up with excellence, even when nobody's watching. Waiting doesn't mean you're wasting time. It means you're investing it, because what's being prepared for you requires patience to receive. You may not feel it, but something is happening while you wait. Every day you choose not to quit, you're growing. Every moment you stay faithful in the small things, you're proving you can be trusted with the big ones. The unseen seasons are where champions are made. You don't see the training, you only see the victory. But it's the waiting that makes the winning possible. Don't confuse silence for absence. Just because God hasn't said go, doesn't mean He's forgotten you. Silence is often strategy. It's the pause before the shift. You might think nothing's working out, but behind the scenes, the pieces are aligning. The right people are being positioned. The right opportunity is being shaped. The right door is being built for you to walk through. The process might feel slow, but the purpose is steady. You can't let impatience push you into something that wasn't meant for you. Sometimes you have to lose what you wanted to discover what you needed. The weight of waiting may feel unbearable, but that's only because your blessing is heavier than you imagined. When it finally arrives, you'll look back and realize that every delay was direction, every not yet was mercy, every lonely night was molding you into the person who could handle what's next. So while you wait, don't waste your wait. Work on yourself. Prepare for the thing you've been praying for. Strengthen your mind. Sharpen your gifts. Fix your focus. Waiting is not about doing nothing. It's about doing what matters most while trusting the rest to unfold. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll thank the delay. You'll see why it had to take time. You'll see why certain people had to leave before the door opened. Because waiting has a way of clearing the stage so that when your moment comes, you'll be ready to step into it fully equipped, fully grounded, fully aware. If you're in that season right now, still waiting, still hoping, still holding on, drop a comment and say, I'm waiting, but I'm ready. Because that's faith, that's power, that's patience with purpose. There are moments when your faith doesn't roar like a lion. It barely whispers. You try to believe, but everything you see contradicts what you're hoping for. You tell yourself to stay strong, but your heart feels tired. You smile in public, but deep down you're wondering if God still hears you. That's the place where faith feels fragile. Not gone, just fragile. Like a small flame fighting against the wind. You're not faithless, you're just weary. And that's okay, because even a flicker of faith still shines in the dark. See, people talk about faith like it's always bold, always confident, always loud. But sometimes faith is quiet. Sometimes faith is tears rolling down your face while you say, Lord, I still trust you. Sometimes faith is getting up one more time when everything in you says, stay down. Faith isn't about never doubting. It's about choosing to believe through your doubt. You don't need a mountain of faith to move a mountain, just a mustard seed. A tiny trembling seed is enough when you place it in the right hands. When life hits you hard, faith doesn't always shout. It survives, it breathes, it endures. The power of faith isn't in how loud it speaks, but in how long it lasts. You can't always see faith working, but you can feel it holding you up when logic says you should have fallen apart by now. Faith is that quiet strength that keeps you standing when the evidence says sit down. It's that whisper that says keep walking. When your legs are shaking, you may not realize it, but some of your greatest acts of faith happened on your weakest days, when you kept showing up even when you didn't see results. When you forgave even though you were still hurting, when you kept giving your best while wondering if it mattered. That's faith in motion. That's belief under pressure. That's courage disguised as consistency. Faith doesn't remove struggle, it transforms it. It turns pain into power, confusion into clarity, and fear into fuel. But before that transformation happens, you've got to wrestle. You've got to face those nights when your mind won't stop running and your heart feels empty. You've got to confront the silence, the waiting, the uncertainty. Faith isn't a shield that keeps you from life's blows. It's the anchor that holds you steady while the storm passes. And sometimes you don't even recognize how much faith you have until it's all you've got left. When you're at rock bottom, when every plan has failed, when the people you counted on walked away, that's when faith steps forward. Not because you're fearless, but because something inside you refuses to let go. You may bend, but you don't break. You may cry, but you don't collapse. That's faith at work in its purest form, when all you can say is, "I'm still here." Faith doesn't need to be loud to be real. The world may not see what you're holding on to, but that doesn't make it any less powerful. Sometimes the quietest believers carry the strongest faith. You don't always have to shout victory from the rooftops. Sometimes it's enough just to whisper it in your soul. The power isn't in the noise, it's in the endurance. There's something beautiful about fragile faith, because fragile faith still moves forward. It still hopes, it still prays. It still believes that somewhere, somehow, things will work out. And every time you choose to believe again, that fragile faith grows stronger. Every time you refuse to quit, that flicker turns into a flame. You're not losing faith. You're learning what faith really means. It's not perfection, it's persistence. So don't beat yourself up for feeling weak. Faith was never about being fearless. It's about standing in fear and saying, "Even if I fall, I'll fall believing." It's about trusting the process when you don't understand the plan. It's about knowing that light exists even when all you can see is darkness. You don't have to see the whole path, just take the next step. You don't have to have all the answers, just believe there's still purpose in your pain. When you look back one day, you'll realize that the moments you thought your faith was weakest were the moments it was being strengthened. Because faith grows in fire, it matures in uncertainty, it shines brightest in the dark. What you're feeling right now is not the end of your faith, it's the evolution of it. If you're holding on by a thread right now, I want you to drop a comment and say, "My faith still stands." Because even if it's trembling, even if it's small, even if it's fragile, faith that survives the storm is stronger than faith that never faced one. Sometimes success doesn't look like shouting victory or standing on top of the mountain. Sometimes success looks like surviving. Sometimes the real win is that you're still here. You've been through storms that should have taken you out, pain that should have broken your spirit, losses that should have buried your purpose, but you're still standing. And maybe you don't feel strong, maybe you don't even feel stable, but the fact that you're still breathing, still moving, still trying, that's strength, that's power, that's resilience in motion. There's something powerful about quiet strength. It's not loud, it's not flashy, it doesn't need attention. It doesn't make noise, it makes progress. Quiet strength is what keeps you standing when the noise fades and the applause stops. It's what holds you together when no one checks on you, when nobody sees what you're fighting behind closed doors. It's that unseen endurance that whispers, "Keep going," when every part of you wants to give up. You see, we often mistake noise for strength. We think if we're loud enough, busy enough, confident enough, then we must be strong. But real strength doesn't always need to announce itself. Real strength doesn't show off, it shows up. It shows up in your silence. It shows up in your patience. It shows up in your ability to stand tall even when life tries to push you down. It's not in the shout, it's in the stillness, because being still doesn't mean you've stopped. It means you've learned how to stand. There comes a time when life will test your foundation. The winds will blow, the rain will fall, and the ground beneath you will shake. You'll lose things you thought you couldn't live without. You'll face moments where everything feels uncertain. And it's in those moments you discover what's unshakable inside of you. The storm doesn't build character, it reveals it. You find out what you're made of when the comfort is gone and all you have left is conviction. There are people walking around right now thinking they lost because they're tired. But what they don't realize is that survival itself is proof of victory. If you've made it through heartbreak, through loss, through disappointment, through betrayal, then you've already won. You may not have everything you wanted, but you've got what matters most, endurance. You didn't crumble. You didn't lose your mind. You didn't let the fire consume you. That's the kind of strength that can't be taught. It's earned through every season you thought would destroy you, but didn't. Quiet strength isn't glamorous. It doesn't always get recognition. Nobody applauds when you get out of bed after crying all night. Nobody celebrates when you show up to work while fighting invisible battles. Nobody sees the nights you prayed for strength just to make it through the next day. But heaven sees it. The universe takes note of it, because that quiet resilience is what separates those who survive from those who surrender. And let me tell you something. Stillness doesn't mean stagnation. Being still doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're centered. It means that even though everything around you is shaking, you've chosen not to lose your peace. That's real power. Anybody can move fast when things are easy, but it takes divine strength to stand still in the storm and say, "I will not break." Sometimes you've got to stand still and let life do what it does, knowing that what's meant for you won't miss you. Sometimes the best response isn't to fight harder, but to trust deeper. When the storm rages, don't hanker yourself. When people doubt you, don't argue, keep building. When life gets heavy, don't collapse, breathe. Stillness is not weakness, it's strategy. It's choosing to trust that what's falling apart is making space for what's about to rise. Maybe right now you're standing in that place. You're tired, you're worn out, and you don't even know how you're still standing. But look at you. You're still here. You've been bruised, but you're not broken. You've been delayed, but you're not denied. You've been hurt, but you're healing. Every scar on your soul is proof that you've survived battles that others don't even know you've fought. You're stronger than you think you are, so don't let the quiet fool you. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it breathes softly through the stillness of your survival, and if you've survived this long, that means there's still purpose in you. There's still more ahead of you. The same strength that got you here is the same strength that will carry you forward. There comes a moment in life when you realize that holding on is actually what's holding you back. You've been gripping so tight to what was, trying to make it fit into what is, that you've forgotten you can't grow if you're still chained to the past. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that some things aren't meant to last forever. Some people, some seasons, some chapters. They were necessary for your growth, but not for your destination. We spend so much energy trying to fix things that were never meant to stay. You keep replaying memories, trying to rewrite outcomes, hoping that if you just do a little more, say a little more, love a little more, it'll go back to how it was. But life doesn't move backward. It's designed to move forward. And when you refuse to let go, you trap yourself in a version of the past that no longer serves your future. Sometimes peace doesn't come from what you gain. It comes from what you release. There's a reason some doors closed. There's a reason some people walked away. There's a reason you had to lose what you thought you couldn't live without. It's because those things were part of your story, not your forever. Growth demands space. And sometimes to make room for what's new, you've got to clear out what's old. That means releasing the hurt, the guilt, the disappointment, the habits that kept you stuck. Because if your hands are full of yesterday, how can you receive what tomorrow is trying to hand you? Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you pretend it never mattered. It means you've decided to stop carrying what's too heavy for your heart. It means you've accepted that closure isn't always a conversation. It's a decision. It's saying, I may never get the apology, I may never get the explanation, but I refuse to let this pain dictate my peace. That's power, that's maturity, that's freedom. Sometimes you've got to forgive people who never said they were sorry. You've got to release situations that never gave you understanding, because holding on doesn't hurt them. It hurts you. It poisons your peace, clouds your vision, and drains your energy. Every time you replay the past, you're reopening a wound that's trying to heal. Healing doesn't happen when you forget what happened. It happens when you stop letting what happened control you. I know it's hard to let go of what you once loved, especially when you built your identity around it. You poured your time, your faith, your heart into something you believed would last. And now you're standing there with empty hands, wondering who you are without it. But don't you know that endings are often just disguised beginnings? The same hands that are empty today will one day hold something greater. Sometimes God has to remove what's comfortable to make room for what's divine. You've got to trust the transition. It won't make sense at first. It might even hurt more before it heals, but pain is often the sign that something new is being born. The weight you feel isn't punishment, it's transformation. You're shedding the old version of yourself. You're releasing what no longer aligns with your purpose, and though it hurts to let it go, what's ahead of you needs a stronger, freer, wiser version of you. Letting go is not an act of defeat, it's an act of faith. It's believing that even without what you lost, you can still rise. That even when people change, promises break, and seasons shift, you still have what it takes to move forward. Because your value was never tied to what left. What left was just a chapter. You are the whole book. Sometimes you'll feel the pull to go back, to revisit the familiar, to hold on to what feels safe. But comfort is a cage when growth is calling you out. Don't let nostalgia trick you into missing your new season. You can't heal in the same place you were broken. You can't evolve in the same environment that drained your potential. It's okay to walk away from what no longer fits. You're not abandoning it. You're honoring who you've become. So if you're standing in that space between what was and what's next, breathe. You're not losing. You're learning. You're not breaking. You're becoming. Everything you release is creating room for everything you've prayed for. Don't rush it. Don't resist it. Just trust that what's meant for you will find you when your hands are free to receive it. Now take a moment and think about what you've been holding on to. Maybe it's pain, maybe it's fear, maybe it's someone who's already moved on. Whatever it is, this is your moment to release it. Drop a comment right now and say, I'm letting go. Because the second you do, you open the door for healing, for peace, and for a future that's ready to unfold. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet are the ones who fight battles no one knows about. They don't post their pain. They don't announce their struggles. They don't complain. They endure. They've mastered the art of silent strength. They smile when their heart is heavy. They show up when their spirit is tired. They keep moving, not because it's easy, but because stopping is not an option. That's real power, not the kind that makes noise, but the kind that survives without applause. It takes a different kind of strength to keep going when you don't have an audience, when nobody sees how hard you're working, how much you're sacrificing, or how deeply you're hurting. You see, people love to celebrate results, but they rarely understand the grind. They see the finished product, not the process. They clap when you win, but they go silent when you struggle. And that's why silent strength is sacred. It's between you and God, between your soul and your purpose. It's forged in the dark, far away from validation. Every person has a storm they're walking through right now. For some, it's a financial storm. For others, it's emotional, mental, spiritual. You can't see it from the outside, but if you look close enough, you'll see it in their eyes. The quiet resilience, the kind that says, "I'm tired, but I'm not done." That's the kind of strength that doesn't brag, doesn't boast, but refuses to break. It's the strength that whispers when the world screams. You learn that kind of strength in the seasons when no one's checking on you, when the phone stops ringing, when the people who said they'd be there disappear, when you cry yourself to sleep and still get up in the morning to face the day. That's when you learn that sometimes your only cheerleader is the reflection in the mirror. You look at yourself and realize that if nobody else believes in you, you still can. That's where courage is born, in the silence of the fight. There are times when silence feels lonely, but it's in that silence that you find yourself. You start to hear what the noise of the world drowned out. You begin to see that strength doesn't come from never falling. It comes from rising every time you do. You stop depending on people to understand you and start trusting that purpose doesn't need permission. You don't have to prove your strength to anyone. Just living through what tried to destroy you is proof enough. The world doesn't always understand this kind of strength because it's not visible. It's not the kind that shouts in confidence. It's the kind that whispers in prayer. It's the kind that keeps faith alive when nothing makes sense. It's the kind that holds on to hope when logic says it's over. This kind of strength doesn't demand attention. It demands endurance. You might be walking through something right now that's testing every fiber of your being. You smile, but inside you're fighting to hold it all together. You show up, but your mind is weary. You help others, even though you're the one who needs help. Don't think for a second that your quiet strength goes unnoticed. Every tear you've cried in private is seen. Every step you've taken in faith, even when you didn't feel like it, is being counted. You are not invisible. You are incredible. Sometimes you've got to remind yourself that survival is strength. You may not be thriving yet, but you're still standing. You may not have it all figured out, but you haven't given up. The fact that you keep showing up even when it hurts, that's victory. The fact that you refuse to let your situation silence your purpose, that's strength. Silent strength doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you've learned how to move through it. It means you've stopped waiting for things to be perfect before you continue. You keep walking, even if it's with a limp. You keep believing, even if your faith feels small. You keep hoping, even if hope feels far away. Because you understand that stillness isn't surrender, it's strategy. You know that storms eventually end, and when they do, it's the ones who kept standing that rise the highest. Don't underestimate what you're building in the dark. The world might not see it now, but they'll feel it when you shine. Every hidden season, every silent tear, every unseen effort. It's all preparing you for a louder victory. You don't have to prove your strength by what you say. You prove it by how you stand, and when the time is right, your strength will speak for itself.